Imagine spending like $1 billion on a project, only to watch it just fail spectacularly at the box office.
Yeah, $1 billion. That is, I mean, it's hard to even wrap your head around that kind of loss.
Right. For almost any company on Earth, taking a $500 million bath on a single animated movie sequel, that's an automatic death sentence.
Oh, absolutely. Bankruptcy, massive layoffs, the works.
Exactly. But for Disney, this catastrophic flop, it wasn't the end of the story. It was actually the catalyst for a massive, unprecedented experiment.
They didn't just accept the loss.
No, they didn't. They fired up an artificial intelligence system, fed it a decade of contracts, and clawed back over $100 million in just 6 months. So, welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we are exploring the Prompt to Profit transcript, which features some really brilliant commentary from Colt Stone and Dr. Chen. And our mission today is to show you, yes, you listening right now, how the very same principles that saved a media empire can be weaponized for your own career.
Because negotiation, it's no longer about the sharp suit or the mahogany boardroom or human charisma.
Right. It's an absolute paradigm shift. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because when we look at the core data from the sources, the defining factor of modern negotiation isn't intimidation anymore, is it?
No, not at all. It is data asymmetry. Historically, the person with the most confidence won the room. But moving forward, the person or the machine with the most comprehensive pattern recognition wins the deal.
Pattern recognition.
Exactly. And what we're going to see today is how that concept scales all the way down from a multinational media conglomerate to like a solo graphic designer working from their kitchen table.
And that scalability, that's the wildest part of this entire concept to me. But I want to unpack the Disney situation first, because it perfectly illustrates the mechanism of this shift.
Yeah, it's a great baseline.
When I read that they saved 9 figures without hiring an army of new lawyers, my first thought was, how does a machine actually negotiate? Like, are they letting an AI talk to Netflix executives on the phone?
Not quite, no. The negotiation itself still happens between humans, but the leverage, that is generated by the AI.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. So to understand how they pulled this off, you have to look at how corporate legal teams traditionally function. If Disney wanted to renegotiate licensing deals with platforms like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, they would normally put like 50 brilliant, incredibly expensive attorneys in a room.
Right.
And those attorneys would manually comb through thousands of pages of old contracts just looking for loopholes or better terms.
It sounds exhausting and honestly highly prone to human error.
Well, that is the exact vulnerability the AI solves. Humans experience fatigue. After reading 400 pages of legalese, a human lawyer might easily miss a minor clause.
Obviously, your eyes glaze over.
Right. But the AI system Disney deployed doesn't experience fatigue. They uploaded 10 years of streaming rights, regional clauses, licensing fees, penalty structures, all of it.
So they just dumped everything into the system.
Everything. And the system's objective was to map conditional clauses across that massive data set.
Wait, hold on. What does mapping conditional clauses actually look like in practice?
Think of it like mapping a sprawling web of triggers and reactions. The AI might discover that, say, in 80% of past contracts, if a streaming platform delayed a release in a specific European market by 30 days, Disney was entitled to a 2% royalty bump.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Human lawyers simply couldn't hold the entirety of 10,000 contracts in their working memory to spot that historical precedent.
Right. Nobody has that kind of memory.
But the AI connects those invisible dots instantly. It flags these tiny forgotten leverage points, packages them up, and then hands them to the human negotiators.
So they walk into the room armed with perfect historical memory.
Exactly.
It's less like having a slick lawyer and more like having a card counter at a blackjack table.
That's a great way to look at it.
Like the AI isn't using charm to win the hand. It's keeping a flawless, emotionless tally of every card that has already been played over the last decade. So it knows the exact mathematical odds of the next hand.
It's an informational advantage based purely on probability and historical precedent.
Okay, I see the power of that for a behemoth like Disney. But I have to push back on the core premise here.
Go for it.
$100 million save is a massive headline. But the listener joining us right now, they aren't running a global media conglomerate.
Right.
They aren't holding the leverage of the Marvel Universe or Star Wars over a streaming platform. So if negotiation is about data asymmetry, how does this apply to, say, a freelance copywriter or an independent consultant?
It's a fair question.
Right, because they don't have 10 years of proprietary corporate data to feed into a massive mainframe. Does this concept actually survive contact with reality for a normal person?
It absolutely does, but you have to redefine what leverage means in your daily life. We are conditioned to think of leverage as capital or monopoly power.
Right, like having millions of dollars to throw around.
Exactly, but leverage, at its most fundamental level, is just information. You negotiate constantly. When a client asks if you can lower your rate, or when you ask your boss for a timeline extension, that is a negotiation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the principle of using AI to find the pattern you missed is identical, whether the data set is 10,000 corporate contracts or just the live open internet.
So you're saying the math stays the same even if the scale shrinks down to one person?
The math is identical. Which brings us to the playbook the sources lay out for individual professionals. And they highlight a specific tool to achieve this, and crucially, they emphasize what not to use.
Yeah, I noticed that. The commentators in the transcript, Stone and Chen, were incredibly specific. They explicitly told readers not to use standard popular models like ChatGPT or Claude for this particular strategy.
Yes.
Which honestly surprised me because those are the big names everyone uses for everything else. Why the restriction?
It comes down to the underlying architecture of how these different AI models generate text. Standard large language models are built on next token prediction.
Meaning they just guess the next word.
Exactly.
Right.
They analyze the words you type and guess the most mathematically probable next word based on their training data, which makes them fantastic for creative writing or brainstorming.
Right.
But it makes them incredibly dangerous for factual research because they are prone to hallucinations.
Right. They confidently lie. They'll invent a fake court case or just make up a statistic because the sentence structure sounds highly probable.
Yes, and if you are walking into a negotiation with a client, bringing a fabricated market statistic is the fastest way to destroy your credibility forever.
Oh, absolutely. So what's the alternative?
This is where the source material directs solopreneurs and freelancers to a completely free tool called Perplexity.
Perplexity. Okay.
The mechanical difference here is that Perplexity is built around retrieval augmented generation. So instead of just guessing the next word from a static data set, it executes live web searches.
Oh, so it's actually looking at the internet right now.
Yes. It scrapes real-time data and synthesizes an answer that is fundamentally anchored to actual citations.
That is the crucial differentiator, right? Citations.
It changes the entire dynamic. You aren't just generating text. You are compiling receipts. And the sources actually outline a very specific prompt to demonstrate how a solopreneur should use this.
Oh, I actually have that prompt right here. I want to read it so you, the listener, can hear the structure because it's remarkably dense.
Yeah, read it out.
The prompt goes, quote, I am a freelance graphic designer. A client offered me $500 for a logo package. What is the average market rate for this service in the United States?
Notice the constraints placed on the machine right there.
Right, yeah. And then it continues. Cite 3 sources from the last 6 months, then write a polite message I can send to the client to negotiate up to $800, end quote.
It's a brilliant prompt. It demands temporal accuracy, the last 6 months. It demands geographic accuracy, the United States. And it demands 3 independent sources.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, though. I see the utility of the data gathering, but I have a real reservation about the second half of that prompt.
Okay, what's the reservation?
Taking an AI-generated email that is heavily armed with market statistics and just dropping it into a client's inbox, isn't that incredibly combative?
You think it's too aggressive?
Yeah. I mean, if I am a client and a freelancer hits me with cited industry surveys to demand $300 more, I feel like my back is immediately against the wall. It feels like weaponizing data.
I understand why it feels that way, but the sources reframe this beautifully. You aren't weaponizing data. You are neutralizing the emotional friction of the negotiation.
Neutralizing emotion. Okay.
Think about the psychology of a traditional freelancer-client interaction. The freelancer gets a lowball offer of $500. They feel undervalued, maybe a little insulted.
Imposter syndrome kicks in hard.
Exactly. They agonize over an email and eventually write something subjective, like, well, I've worked really hard on my portfolio and my time is valuable, so my minimum is $800.
Which is an emotional plea, it's not a business case.
Yeah, right. And to a client, an emotional plea is an invitation to haggle. It's purely subjective. But when you use the Perplexity prompt, the AI removes the ego entirely.
Because it's just presenting facts.
Exactly. It pulls an actual survey from, say, the Graphic Artists Guild or a recent Upwork pricing report. When the client receives the message, It doesn't read as a personal attack. It reads as objective market reality.
Oh, that makes total sense. You are shifting the burden of being the quote-unquote bad guy
Yeah.
from yourself to the broader market.
Yes, precisely.
You are essentially communicating, hey, I would love to do this for 500, but the cited industry standard for this deliverable is 800. You and the client are on the same side, just looking at a third-party metric.
It creates a dramatically stronger foundation. The data is your leverage. Vague inputs to an AI will yield vague, unhelpful platitudes. But specific, mathematically bound prompts turn a subjective argument into an objective business reality.
That is how you use the internet as your corporate data set.
Exactly.
So if you're listening to this right now, the application is incredibly straightforward. Tonight, take 10 minutes. Go to Perplexity, use that exact prompt structure, but swap in your actual profession, your specific deliverable, and your real numbers.
See what citations it pulls.
Right. Just understanding your own baseline, backed by hard evidence, will completely change how you carry yourself in your next email exchange.
It's incredibly empowering, but we do have to address the major limitation of this framework.
The asynchronous nature of it.
Yes. Drafting an email gives you the luxury of time. You can run prompts, tweak the tone, review the citations.
This is exactly what I was thinking. An email is a safe environment. But my worst professional mistakes, the moments where I leave the most money on the table, do not happen in emails.
Where do they happen?
They happen live. On a Tuesday afternoon Zoom call, when a client hits me with a sudden budget constraint or a change in scope, and I have to respond in real time.
Right.
Does this entire data asymmetry model just collapse when we are forced to speak live?
That is the ultimate vulnerability, yeah. Live negotiations are where human biology actively works against our financial interests.
How so?
Well, when a client puts you on the spot, your body initiates a mild fight-or-flight response. Your cortisol levels spike. Adrenaline floods your system.
Because your brain perceives the potential loss of income as an actual survival threat.
Exactly. And when your brain is focused on immediate survival, which in this context means securing the gig at any cost, your auditory processing literally narrows.
Wait, really? Your hearing changes.
You experience cognitive overload. You want to please the person on the screen to alleviate the tension, so you miss the subtle nuances of what they're actually saying. You don't hear their hesitations, you only hear the objection.
Which means we are operating with massive data asymmetry, but the client has the advantage. We are deaf to the leverage.
Which brings us to the final and perhaps most impactful piece of the strategy outlined in the source material, a low-cost live intervention tool.
Okay, so we're moving from free tools to paid tools now.
We are, but the cost is marginal. The sources specifically highlight Otter AI. There are free versions, but the paid tier, which provides the necessary features, is just under $20, roughly $16 a month.
Okay, that's doable. What does it do?
Its function is to sit silently in the background of your client calls and transcribe every single syllable, every pause, every contradictory statement.
Okay, but a transcript is just a wall of text. How does a massive block of text help me if I already botched the call because my cortisol spiked?
Well, the transcript isn't the solution. It is the raw material. The source material outlines a specific workflow they call the money move.
The money move. I like that.
After your high-stakes call ends, you export the raw Otter transcript. You then feed that text document into a powerful LLM, and this is where you can use ChatGPT or Claude because you are providing the context window.
Right. It's not guessing facts. It's just reading the text you gave it.
Exactly. And you ask 3 pointed questions. What did I miss? What concessions did the client signal? What should I counter with?
So you are basically employing a forensic behavioral analyst to review the game tape of your meeting.
You are leveraging a machine that doesn't have a nervous system to review an interaction where your nervous system failed you.
That is so smart.
And the sources provide a brilliant case study to quantify the value of this. There is a story of a freelancer who was on a live sales call for a major project. The client pushed back hard on the pricing, delivering the classic line, "We love your work, but the budget is incredibly tight right now."
Oh, the dreaded tight budget line. That is the exact moment the panic sets in.
Right.
You hear those words, and your immediate instinct is to just slash your weight by 20% to keep them from walking away.
Which is exactly what this freelancer almost did. She nearly caved on the spot. But instead, she bought herself a moment of time. She told the client she needed to review the scope and would email a final proposal.
Smart move.
Very. She hung up the phone, took her Otter transcript, and ran it through the AI with those 3 questions.
Okay, what did the machine find that she missed in the moment?
The AI caught a massive contradiction in the client's own phrasing. Amidst all the posturing about a tight budget, the client had casually mentioned earlier in the call, quote, "This project is absolutely critical for our year-end launch."
Oh, wow. Critical for year-end? You do not penny pinch on a critical year-end launch.
No, you definitely don't. The AI flagged that statement as the ultimate indicator of leverage. The client was posturing about the budget, but they had already revealed their hand.
The project had to get done, and it had to get done well.
Yes. The freelancer, flooded with anxiety, only heard tight budget. The machine, objectively analyzing the text, highlighted critical.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
The AI essentially told her, they have the money, hold your ground.
And she did. She held firm on her original top-tier rate. The client accepted without another word of protest.
Wait, really?
Yeah. That single insight, caught by a $16 a month transcription tool and processed by a free language model, saved her $1,200 on a single contract.
$1,200 from a $16 tool. That completely flips the script on how we approach these conversations.
It's a massive return on investment.
But I do have a practical concern here.
What's that?
I feel like if I get on a call and announce, hey, I am recording this and feeding it into an AI, clients are going to run for the hills. Privacy is a huge issue. How do you implement this without creeping people out?
Transparency is non-negotiable, but phrasing is everything. The sources suggest framing it not as a surveillance tactic, but as a commitment to accuracy.
Okay, how do you phrase that?
You start the call by saying, "Just so you know, I use a transcription tool to take notes so I can be fully present in our conversation and ensure I don't miss any of your requirements."
Oh, that's brilliant. You make it a benefit to them.
Exactly.
You are recording it to ensure their needs are perfectly captured. It positions you as a highly organized professional rather than someone trying to catch them in a trap.
And it sets a tone of accountability for the entire relationship. If we look at the entire journey of what we've covered today, a profound through line emerges. The mechanics of leverage have been democratized.
So what does this all mean for the listener?
Well, we started with Disney, looking at how a billion-dollar failure forced them to use AI to scour a decade of dense legal paperwork just to find $100 million of hidden leverage.
Right, and then we scaled that exact same principle down to the individual, using Perplexity's live web scraping to build data-backed, emotionless email negotiations that rely on citations instead of subjective haggling.
Before finally addressing the biological hurdle of live conversations, using an inexpensive transcription tool like Otter AI to bypass our own fight-or-flight responses.
Allowing a machine to decode the hidden concessions we miss when the pressure's on.
Exactly. You don't need a billion-dollar corporate budget. You don't need a mahogany boardroom. You just need a methodical approach to data collection and an understanding of where human emotion fails us.
The tools are cheap or entirely free. The only thing separating anyone listening from that kind of professional leverage is just the decision to implement the workflow.
The information asymmetry is waiting to be captured.
We have covered some serious ground today. If you found value in this deep dive, do not keep it to yourself. Send this to a freelancer friend, an independent contractor, or a small business owner.
We all know someone who routinely undervalues their own work.
Exactly, because they lack the confidence to negotiate. Give them this playbook. Let the data do the heavy lifting for them.
As we wrap up, there is one final thought I want to leave you with, a concept to mull over as you go about your day. We have spent this time exploring how easily a machine can spot crucial negotiation signals, like a client admitting a project is critical, that we completely miss simply because we are experiencing anxiety on a phone call.
It highlights just how many blind spots we have in our daily communications.
So the question is this: what other vital information are you currently misinterpreting in your professional life? If you had a perfect, emotionless transcript of all your high-stakes interactions with your manager, your investors, or your most difficult clients, how much more opportunity and profit might you find hiding in plain sight? How much leverage are you leaving on the table right now just by being human?
That is a staggering thought to end on. We entered this deep dive thinking about the charismatic negotiators, the loudest voices in the room. But it turns out the most powerful negotiator isn't the one speaking. It's the silent machine, reading the transcript, highlighting the truth you were too nervous to hear. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Now go find your leverage.